This is Ireland. For centuries, Ireland stood among the poorest nations, even earning it the unflattering title of the sick man of Europe. But then, something happened. A transformative event occurred, leading to an unprecedented economic boom. On the surface, Ireland today reveals an economic prosperity that rivals even the likes of Switzerland, Qatar, and Kuwait. It has become a formidable player in the global economic arena. However, if we look deeper into Ireland, we see that not everyone shares in this same belief of a booming Irish economy, but rather the opposite. Research has shown that in Ireland, 70% of young people are now considering moving abroad because they think they would enjoy a better quality of life elsewhere. And more than 4 out of 10 people report that they are not as happy as they were 6 months ago. So this begs the question, if the Irish economy is doing so well, then why are so many people unhappy and wanting to leave? Is there some dark secret lurking beneath the surface? And is there anything Ireland can do to turn this around? Stick around until the end to find out. This is the untold dark truth of Ireland's economic rise and fall. Before we dive in and understand why the economy of Ireland is much deeper than we think, we need to take a look at the history of Ireland and understand how we got here. Ireland was not always this rich. The Irish potato famine was a period of mass starvation and disease in Ireland from 1845 to 1849. 1 million people died of famine, and more than 1 million fled the country. It significantly declined its population. That's why today, more Irish live in the United States and around the world than in Ireland itself. But how did this tiny nation like Ireland go from starvation to become so rich in the last 3 decades? Before Ireland became an independent country in 1922, Ireland was part of the British Empire, where Irish people were considered second-class citizens. It was heavily reliant on trades with the UK and had people leaving the country to seek better opportunities elsewhere. Then, in 1973, Ireland joined the European Union, which further helped to improve its economic growth. But things in the 70s and 80s were again getting worse. With the oil crisis of the 70s, unlimited government spending with a tax rate of as much as 50% for the average Irish person worsened the economic situation in Ireland. Unemployment in 1987 reached 17%, and Irish people once again started migrating to foreign countries for work. To get out of the crisis, the government cut down on spending and cut taxes. This made it possible for people to spend and invest more, which improved the economy. These expansionary policies changed Ireland's economy forever. This allowed companies to sell products across member states while only being subject to taxes in one. Ireland tried to introduce low taxes and economic subsidies to attract foreign companies. Soon enough, Ireland was home to US companies such as Dell and Microsoft residing in Ireland. Ireland strategically positioned itself as an economic hub, betting that attracting foreign companies to establish their official residence within its borders would enable the country to collect a share of their European profits, contributing to the turnaround of its economy. They attracted these companies by having low taxes, which means that they can save money in Ireland, while Ireland itself was able to get a small slice of a very large economic pie. And it worked. During the 1990s and 2000s, Ireland's economy started to rise fast. It grew consistently at a rate of 9 or 10%. It outpaced any other economy in that period. It was growing faster than countries like Singapore and South Korea. The favorable conditions led numerous US companies to declare their global profits in Ireland, where they incurred minimal taxes. Despite Ireland receiving a modest portion of the enormous earnings, it emerged from the crisis thanks to the strategic moves they made before. However, the global financial crisis of 2008 hit Ireland's economy particularly hard. In 2009, property prices fell further by 18.6%. In big cities like Dublin, house prices were down 56% from their peak. The number of people living on unemployment benefits had risen to 326,000, the highest monthly level since the record began in 1967, and unemployment increased from 6.5% in July 2008 to 14.8% in July 2011. Ireland quickly recovered from the crisis and experienced a historic economic growth comeback. In 2015, Ireland reported a growth rate of 25%. Not even China achieved 25% growth in a single year. So then what happened? Given this rapid economic expansion and growth, why are so many people leaving? Many economists realized this Irish growth number was a delusion. But how? Now, because of all these factors, you would imagine that Ireland would have a high GDP per capita, right? And you would be correct. They rank second in the world when it comes to GDP per capita when compared to other countries. Indeed, Ireland has experienced significant growth recently, with its GDP expanding by nearly 12% compared to the previous year. This impressive growth positions Ireland well above average in terms of economic performance. But this assessment holds true primarily when focusing solely on GDP. However, a closer examination of other economic indicators suggests that there may be additional layers to Ireland's economic story beyond just GDP figures. Let's start with salary. Yes, you can say that Ireland has quite a high average salary as a country ranking in the top 10. But if you consider their GDP, this salary figure is actually quite low. It is one of the lowest in comparison to some Scandinavian countries. But if you compare it to the average salaries of, say, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Austria, then they are more similar. But when you take a look at their GDP, it's not as high as Ireland's. Another important number to look at is Ireland's relative household disposable income. Ireland is below average when compared to the rest of the EU, placing 18th in the world. In simpler terms, Ireland might seem prosperous on paper, especially when looking at its GDP, a measure of economic output, but on other metrics it is not looking good. And it is this discrepancy that raises questions about the actual financial well-being of the Irish population. So why is Ireland's GDP misleadingly high? The reason? Many global companies report their profits in Ireland as stated before. Even if those profits weren't generated in the country and don't significantly contribute to the Irish economy. This phenomenon has spawned the term leprechaun economics, portraying a situation where official figures fail to accurately represent the true economic prosperity or lack thereof, as the reported wealth isn't directly benefiting the people living in Ireland. The artful accounting in Ireland not only conceals the flaws in its economy, which are quite concerning, but also masks its substantial national debt, which is among the highest globally. When talking about national debts, it is also important to take a look at the GDP of that nation. That is why not a lot of people take notice on Ireland's high national debt because of their inflated GDP that was mentioned earlier. Because of Ireland's high GDP, their debt is not really noticeable. This creates a deceptive facade of economic strength. However, looking beyond the GDP reveals a less rosy picture. Ireland has cleverly concealed the genuine nature of its economic success, but this may not endure. The global push against tax havens is gaining momentum, potentially jeopardizing Ireland's ability to collect taxes from foreign corporations. If this transpires, the true economic reality might surface, and the aftermath could be less than favorable. As mentioned earlier, a lot of foreign tech companies are choosing Ireland as their base, but that does not mean that they are also hiring from within the Irish population talent pool. In fact, only a fraction of their workforce is Irish, and they rely on importing foreign talent from abroad to fill in available spots. As a result, Ireland is experiencing its worst talent shortage in 17 years. This imported talent has only helped in inflating the prices, but very little money is actually going to the Irish people. Now, where does this all lead to? When taking a look at their population, we can see that there has been a significant impact on their youth as a result of this. A recent survey this year showed that 70% of Ireland's young people are considering permanently leaving to secure a better quality of life overseas. And then we have Ireland's long-standing housing crisis. While housing shortages are a global issue, Ireland's situation is exacerbated by a problematic combination of ill-planned government policies. These regulations hinder the development of high-density urban housing, creating obstacles for developers, which in turn contributes to a critical housing shortage. This shortage makes housing either unaffordable or completely out of reach for many residents. The Irish housing crisis has been devastating. Many young people have largely given up on any hope of homeownership, and many more still have lost even the hope of renting in places like Dublin. This issue has become so bad that last year there were fewer than 1,000 rental properties available in Ireland in the entire country of 5.1 million people. This means that on average there is a significant disproportion of available housing for people who are looking for them, and resulted in comical scenarios like this one when hundreds of people lined up on the street in Dublin trying to get a viewing of an apartment available for rent. Despite the prolonged housing crisis, numerous protests, and governmental assurances, the problem persists without significant resolution. This housing dilemma is indicative of deeper systemic problems, reflecting Ireland's apparent mismanagement in various areas. The country grapples with challenges in building fundamental infrastructure, managing essential public services, and sustaining a functioning national healthcare system. For years, Ireland has struggled to construct roads, energy infrastructure, and the healthcare system is perpetually plagued in crises. It's overcrowded, underfunded, and facing a persistent drain of doctors to other English-speaking countries. In summary, Ireland's economic journey presents a complex mix of rapid growth, but also deep underlying challenges. While Ireland's GDP paints a picture of prosperity, a deeper dive reveals significant issues: a substantial national debt, and a workforce heavily reliant on imported talent. This situation has led to a major housing crisis, further highlighting the gap between the country's economic markers and the reality of its citizens' lives. But what do you think? Is there hope for Ireland? And can it do anything to change the course of its current economic conditions? And do you think Ireland's strategy of attracting foreign companies with low taxes is sustainable in the long run? Let us know what you think by sharing your thoughts in the comments. We really hope you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making it. Please do not hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to stay tuned for more captivating economic narratives. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video.